Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Thanks so much for tuning in. Beautiful to connect with you all today. If you are tuning in on YouTube, so happy you're here. Would love to know where you're from if you want to drop it in the comments. Or if you have any questions as the video goes on, feel free to drop them there as well. If you're new here, hi, I'm Madison. I am a medium, a Reiki master, and I also work with the Akashic Records. So if you are new on my YouTube channel, a lot of my teachings in the past have been focused around the concepts that are already existing, meaning I'm talking about my experience with Reiki, my experience with mediumship, my experience learning to read tarot. Now I'm going to be doing a little shift in my content from teaching about concepts like that to actually moving to channeled messages. And so I've been feeling the pull to make this shift for a little while. So today is the first one. I'm so excited to share it with you guys. So essentially what I'm doing in this new series of channeled messages is I'm going into the Akashic Records and asking about spiritual topics or concepts that I want to know about, and that are also things that are kind of going on in the collective, but maybe people don't fully understand how the spiritual concepts or the metaphysical concepts work. So today's episode, we are going to be talking about karma. And so if you are not familiar with the Akashic Records, the Akashic Records is really a place where most people go to find out information about themselves. So you can tap into the Akashic Records through a pathway prayer, and that pathway prayer connects you with your Akashic guide, who can tell you about things like your soul purpose, your past lives, your business goals, karmic relationships, soul contracts, things keeping you stuck. All of this information is available in the Akashic Records. So prior, I've always used the Akashic Records to go in and try to learn about myself and my past lives and all of that. And now we're doing this shift to going into the Akashic Records and saying, hey, can you teach me about spiritual concepts? So today's topic, we are going to be talking about karma. So I went into the Akashic Records and I asked a couple questions about what is karma, how does it work, if we're trapped in karmic relationships, how do we break free? And I'm also going to share a little bit about my experience trying to clear my own karma. So let's get into it. I wrote it all down in some notes, basically in a question answer format, where I went into the Akashic Records, I asked questions, and then I kind of consolidated the answer into something that's a little bit more digestible. So I went in originally and just said, what is karma? The response was, karma is tied to the universal law of cause and effect. If you think of energy as a boomerang, whatever energy vibration you send out comes back, just not always in the same form. So I said, okay, great. How does karma work? This is the response from the Akashic Records. Everything you do, think, feel, say has a vibrational currency. Lower vibrational is going to be things like hate, fear, gossip, negativity. Higher vibrational energy is going to be things like gratitude, abundance, friendship, love, joy, those sort of emotions. So whatever vibrational frequency you're emitting to yourself, to other people, in your mind, through your words, through your actions, that energy is going to come back to you just as if a boomerang would. That vibration comes back in feelings, emotions, or experiences through either direct or indirect karma. And I'm going to give you an example of each. Direct karma is you cut somebody off in traffic, 2 minutes later, somebody cuts you off in traffic. It's that immediate energy just coming right back in the exact same way it was given, intentional or not, right? Indirect karma could be you say something rude to somebody else, and 5 days later, your sister-in-law is rude to you. And so it doesn't necessarily always come back in the exact way that it comes out, but you always get whatever that energy exchange is back. Because in the spiritual and metaphysical world, everything is through the energy and the currency of energy. And so whatever vibrational energy you're putting back, that's the vibration that you're a match with. So you're going to draw in those experiences even more. So next I went on to say, how do you clear karma? And I think a big piece is to first of all realize if you're in a place of needing to clear karma. So for me, when I first started looking into this, if you are new here, you haven't heard my story, I struggled with addiction for many years. And when you're in the lifestyle of partying and addiction, you make a lot of bad decisions. You do and say things that probably you shouldn't. And I knew I was in a state of like, I've done things where it would make sense that I'm getting that karma or that negative energy back that I've put out to others. So I was really wanting to know, like, do I still have karma left to clear? And if so, how does that work? So here's the response from the Akashic Records. There are a few ways, but let's review the visualization method you've been taught. Sending love is a great way to clear karma and break karmic bonds. So whenever I originally was like, hey, how do I clear my own karma? How do I get free of whatever energy might be, coming back to me that might be negative? How do I kind of expedite that process? And what I was told then was to visualize people that I feel like I have harmed and that I may have put negative energy onto, and I need to change that vibration. So I need to visualize that person and send that person love to try to counteract the negative interaction or experience or approach that I may have had with that person in the past. So for example, my ex-husband came to mind. So I had this little hologram of my ex-husband, and I was sending that hologram version light and love to try to counteract maybe some of the negative things that I said or did in that relationship. Because regardless of why a relationship ends, everybody always has their piece or their things that they could have done differently to just, handle things better or more like the bigger person. So when I was first diving into clearing my karma, I did this for everybody that I could come up with that I had anger, resentment, had been nasty towards, whatever. Because whenever I was in addiction, I was the kind of person that, like, if you were rude to me, I was going to be 3 times as rude to you, right? So obviously in those sort of interactions, I incurred a lot of negative karma because the energy I was putting out was coming right back to me. So once I started to understand all of this from a spiritual perspective, I was like, okay, what do I need to do to kind of break free of these past things that I've done that now I'm not that version of self, but that energy is still out there, right? What do I need to do to kind of disconnect from for good? So my next question I asked the Akashic Records was, what are karmic bonds and relationships? I get a lot of questions about this. Whenever I'm doing readings, I do Akashic Records readings, and I have a lot of people that are like, is this a karmic relationship? How do I know if it's a karmic relationship? So here's the answer I got from the Akashic Records. Sometimes people are teachers, which means that they can also be our biggest addiction. The stress of a dysfunctional relationship, the highs and the lows, can be addictive to the nervous system in a way where peace feels boring. So let's unpack this. As I mentioned, I am somebody who lived in addiction and the partying atmosphere for many years. So whenever I first got into a stable relationship and stopped getting blackout drunk multiple times a week, my life became very peaceful. But because I had never really known peace, at first I was bored. I was like, because what happens when you're in these fight or flight modes, when you're in high highs, low lows, is your body gets addicted to that feeling, right? Even if it's not a good feeling, your body gets addicted to the cortisol and the adrenaline and all these things that go through your body when you're in fight or flight or when you're in these cycles of dysfunction. And so it took me a long time to realize, like, oh, nothing's wrong, and I'm just not used to nothing being wrong. So for me personally, whenever nothing was wrong, I would do things like self-sabotage. I would do things like make the wrong decision. I would do things like create drama because there was none, because I wasn't used to things being peaceful. So this is something that I've seen show up a lot for me. Another example of this would be if you are moving into, you've identified that, like, hey, all of my past partners, they've all been toxic, narcissistic, demeaning, whatever. And now you're wanting to move away from that. You are going to still have to say no to some of those people that might come in that are that same energy or currency of those past relationships, and kind of show the universe, like, nope, that's not in alignment with me anymore. So that way more of that high vibrational energy can come in. Because in talking about everything being the currency of energy, everything we put out comes back to us in terms of relationships as well. So if you are in a negative, low vibrational state, those people are going to be a vibrational match for you. So that's what your world is going to become. So for me personally, whenever I was in addiction and drinking and partying and all of that, that's the people that I attracted because that's the vibrational energy that I was in. So I kind of wanted to pause there, but back to what are karmic bonds and relationships. Sometimes you have a friendship, romantic relationship, or family relationship where they were there to teach your soul something, and it could be how to set boundaries, how to walk away, how to choose yourself. And sometimes it takes many lifetimes to fully make this decision. So I'll give you an example. I have somebody that I have done readings for in the past that is very much in this cycle of needing to, or in the process of breaking free from a karmic relationship. It's something where you can see that they have had multiple lifetimes together, and ultimately the goal in this is to choose herself over choosing the other relationship. And that's something that it takes a long time to learn at the soul level as you're going through that. And some people end up in that cycle for several different lifetimes before they break the cycle and choose themselves. So learning that toxic relationships that you didn't want to leave was breaking karmic bonds. And that allows you to really be able to step into that newer vibrational state by choosing to say that those situations, relationships, and people are no longer aligned. So in this soul lesson, it is to choose you, even when the path ahead is unclear or uncertain. So I hope that this message resonated with you guys. If you want to hear more content like this, please subscribe to the channel. You can like and share with your friends who are spiritually curious. I am going to be doing these channeled messages every Tuesday at 4:44, so I would love to have you join live. If you want to work with me outside of YouTube, I do have a website that's linked in the show notes and in my bio where you can book a one-on-one reading with me. I do have a location in Greensboro, and I also do everything virtually as well. You're going to get the same caliber of a reading from me in person or virtually, so you can definitely book one with me via Zoom from anywhere in the world. I also have a 5D membership. So if you are somebody who is on your spiritual ascension journey, you want to learn things like how to access your Akashic Record, how to connect with your higher self, I have a learning platform also on my website where you can join that 5D membership, and that will allow you to be able to have weekly messages and weekly downloads and weekly things to work on to really enhance your spiritual skills. I'm also doing a week free trial of that, so if you wanted to try the membership, see if it was aligned, you can try it for a week for free before you get charged for it. Final thing before I go is 2026 retreats. I just finished a retreat in Sedona a little over a month ago, and I'm thinking into 2026 retreats. So if there's anywhere that you guys have been wanting to experience, you can definitely DM me or email me. All of my social media is at A Holistic Awakening. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode, and I will see you next week.